graders, I'm Miss Henderson. I'm an 8th grade ELA teacher at Ferndale Middle School, but I'm super excited to be working with you today. This is the second part of our writing lesson that we're building on from our first lesson where we organized our narrative and started writing our rough draft. For this lesson, you'll need your ELA notebook, your narrative draft from lesson 1, something to write with, and if you have it near you, your figurative language chart might be helpful. Today we're going to use figurative language or words or phrases with powerful emotions to capture the actions, convey experiences, emotions, and events in our narratives. Remember, words are really powerful, and authors choose their words very, very carefully. They can use them to convey an emotion or characteristics of a character, to help the reader feel a certain emotion, or to paint a vivid picture for the reader, and to convey their own emotions about the topic. And authors will often use figurative language and connotative meanings of words to do that. And remember, figurative language are descriptive words and phrases that are not literal, and the connotative meanings of words are the emotional or implied meaning of a word. And we're actually going to take on the role of the writer today, and we're going to enhance our writing with figurative language and powerful words or using the connotative meanings of some of those words. Remember, I said authors choose their words very carefully. So why does Anthony Horowitz use figurative language and connotative meanings in his writing? Let's look at this phrase here with flying colors. The author says that Alex passed the exam with flying colors. Why did Anthony Horowitz use this idiom? What does it help us understand? And remember, an idiom is a commonly used phrase or expression that has a different meaning than what it says. So things like, that was a piece of cake, but we know what it means. So we know with flying colors means you did really, really well, right? So Anthony Horowitz could have just said, Alex passed the exam. That only tells us that he passed it, right? But when he says with flying colors, we understand that instead of just passing the exam, he probably ended up with an A. And instead of just coming out and saying he got an A on the test, he used something a little bit more descriptive and a little bit more fun with saying with flying colors. Now, let's look at some ways to spice up sentences in the calculation. And pay attention because you're going to follow some of these same steps when you go to spice up some of your writing. So we're going to take these steps to spice up our narratives. First, I've read through the narrative and I've identified a few places that present or discuss characters, a setting, or an object, or a few places where I might want to convey how a character feels. Then I'm going to use some figurative language or words or phrases with powerful emotions to capture the action and convey experiences, emotions, and events. So I'm going to insert some figurative language or some words with powerful meanings to help really spice up what I'm trying to say. So let's look at another example where Anthony Horowitz uses powerful language to convey how Alex feels. So in this section, I'm just going to reread it real quick. Alex Rider stared at the white page on the desk in front of him. This was an important end-of-term exam. If he failed, he might even get sent back a year. But he already knew he had no idea how to answer even this first question. How could he clearly show an equation that he was quite sure wasn't anywhere in his brain? So, based on what I've read so far, I know that this is an extremely important exam, and Alex has no idea how to answer the first question. So how do we think Alex might be feeling right now? What emotion would he be feeling while he's sitting in front of this exam where he doesn't know the answer and he's stuck? He's probably feeling nervous. We've all been there. We've all been sitting in front of a test and you look down, you can't answer the first question, and you are stressed. You're nervous, you're anxious. Well, I could say Alex Rider anxiously stared at the white page on the desk in front of him, and that just comes out and says how he's feeling. But Anthony Horowitz took it a next step further. He said, Alex Rider stared at the white page on the desk in front of him, feeling the sweat break out on his forehead. So he used this imagery because you can relate to it. Everyone knows what it feels like to get sweaty because you're nervous about something. So we can imagine how Alex is feeling in that moment. Let's look at another example where the author uses powerful language to describe a place. They had never given him any choice. First, he had found himself being sent to the south of England to investigate the Stormbreaker computers being given away free by a crazy millionaire. He had changed his name and his appearance to enter the Point Blank Academy in France. Finally, just a few weeks ago, he'd traveled halfway around the planet to prevent a Russian general, Alexei Sarov, from deliberately starting a nuclear war. So, I want to look at this place, the Point Blank Academy in France. And I know that the Point Blank Academy is a school for rebellious sons of wealthy people. The head teacher at the school created clones of himself and surgically altered them to look like the sons of rich and influential people, with the hope of having his clones eventually inherit the fortunes of these people and become the most powerful men in the world. So this is a strange and a little bit terrifying of a place. But what are some words that we could use to really get the reader to understand this place without having to actually give them that backstory? So the author sat down and made a list of negative words that can be used to describe a place. And he came up with some of these: unpleasant, crummy, lousy, creepy, spooky, terrible, awful, miserable, and sinister. So he sat down, he looked at all these words, and he said, I really want people to understand how bad of a place the Point Blank Academy was, and he really liked this word, sinister. So he inserted it into his story, and it looks something like this. He had changed his name and his appearance to enter the sinister Point Blank Academy in France. And this word, sinister, really helps the reader understand that this is a terrible, almost evil place. And you guys are going to do the same thing in your narrative. So I want you to sit and look through your narrative. Identify some places where you present or discuss a character, a setting, a place, or an object, and identify places where you really want to convey how a character feels. So you can go through, highlight, circle them. Then I want you to use figurative language or words with powerful meanings and powerful emotions to capture the action and convey experiences and emotions and events just like Anthony Horowitz did in The Calculation. So today we reviewed figurative language and connotative meanings. We looked at the steps that authors take to spice up their writing. So they identify places where they're trying to present or discuss a character, a setting, or an object. They identify places where they want to convey how a character feels, and then they insert figurative language or really powerful words and phrases to really emphasize how the character feels or what the object looks like to describe it. And we looked at the way that Anthony Horowitz revised some language in The Calculation to convey emotion and to describe a location. So for your work, you're going to follow the steps to spicing up your narrative to revise some of the language in your narrative. Using descriptive language in your writing makes you a better writer, and it's a skill you won't just use in 8th grade, but you'll use it all your life because we write most of our life. Hopefully this lesson helped make you a little bit of a better writer. Thank you so much for learning with me today. I can't wait to see you for our next lesson.